When the transfer student Emily slipped a super thin 001 into Ethan's pocket, I happened to see it. She froze in shock, her lips parting as if scrambling for an explanation. "Hey, don't misunderstand," she blurted. "I'm not planning to use this with your childhood friend." Emily hurried to explain. "We ran out of latex membranes for the experiment, so we're using this as a substitute. Don't overthink it." Ethan assumed I was about to make a scene again. Helpless irritation tightened his brows, but I simply lowered my head, expressionless, and kept studying. He didn't know that on the day he and the transfer student shared a single ice cream, I had already decided to go abroad. As far as I was concerned, he'd been out of the running for a while. "We really are using it for the experiment, Ava. Don't be unreasonable," Emily said. I hadn't even spoken yet. Ethan had already gone on the defensive, rubbing his temples like he was bracing for some clingy argument from me. Honestly, I wasn't paying attention to any of it. I only looked up because they were noisy and messing up my listening practice. I thought of the sentence I just missed, dragged the progress bar back, lowered my head and started over. Ethan paused, thrown off for a moment. Then Emily bumped him with a solid elbow. "Looks like your little childhood sweetheart changed tactics," she teased. "She figured pushing you doesn't work, so now it's playing hard to get. Go on, she's sulking and waiting for you to coax her." Ethan snapped. "Coax her? What does she think she's my wife now? If anyone's doing the coaxing, you go do it." "So tough," Emily laughed. "Careful, or your girl might ignore you for good." Ethan's gaze landed on the top of my head. "I'll pray she actually manages that," he said coolly. Emily snorted. "Ethan, you really don't know how to show a little tenderness." The classroom gradually filled and the buzzing voices faded into background static. After I finished my last listening question, the butler called. "Miss Ava, your paperwork is nearly complete. Departure in 7 days. Matters concerning young Master Ethan have also been sent to the chairman." I answered, glancing toward Ethan, who was leaning close to Emily, whispering. I couldn't hear what he said, but Emily giggled, slipping a hand down the back of Ethan's collar in goofy mockery. I looked away calm. "When my mom finishes reading the report," I told the butler, "ask her to cancel my engagement to Ethan and end all projects with the Morgan family." When I came out of the principal's office after confirming that our promised donation to the school would remain even if I left, his smile was even more deferential. I had just turned the corridor when I ran into Emily and Ethan. "Hey Ethan," Emily said, feigning surprise. "Why is your little childhood sweetheart coming out of the principal's office? She didn't go tattle about this morning, did she?" Then she turned to me with a pitiful look and reached for my hand. "Ava, don't misunderstand. That thing from earlier, we really were using it for an experiment. We didn't break any rules." I pulled my hand back, a flicker of annoyance rising. "We're not close," I said evenly. "Call me by my name, Ava Ford." Emily blinked, hurt flashing in her eyes. "I just thought calling you that felt friendly. Sorry, someone like me shouldn't presume with someone as wealthy as you. Please Ava, don't tell the principal." "Fine, I won't hang out with Ethan anymore if that's what it takes." Ethan's patience broke. He drew Emily behind him protectively. "Ava, this is school. Drop the rich girl attitude," he said, his gaze full of blame and impatience. "Go in there and tell the principal you were joking, that you lied. There's nothing improper between me and Emily." "Forget it, Ethan," Emily said, leaning out from behind him with a helpless tone. "Everyone in our grade knows you and Ava are childhood sweethearts. Joined at the hip. I shouldn't have imagined we could be friends." Her eyes glistened as if she were about to cry. I turned to leave, but Ethan grabbed her and shot me a cold look. "Ava Ford, do you have any idea how disgusting you are? I'm a living, breathing person. Why should I be chained to you every day? Not even allowed the freedom to make friends. Did you buy me or something?" The two of them kept trading lines like they were acting in a play, and they finally left a gap for me to speak. I met the annoyance in Ethan's eyes and asked quietly, "Isn't that exactly what it is? I was born emotionally distant. Aside from my parents, I've always found it hard to get close to anyone. When I was 5, I was kidnapped by one of my father's enemies. I fought to escape and was almost caught again when Ethan stepped in and blocked the kidnappers, letting me get away while he took the beating. 2 ribs broken. Later, in his hospital room, the ever-aloof me actually told my parents I wanted to be friends with Ethan. They were stunned. It was the first time I'd ever said I wanted a friend. After thoroughly looking into Ethan's family background, they readily agreed again and again. Ethan's parents, meanwhile, practically lit up with delight. My mother comes from a powerful political family, and my father is a top tycoon in Hong Kong. Their son had latched on to the Morgans, our family, who were far beyond the reach of his own. From then on, his prospects soared. On holidays and festivals, Ethan's parents would come calling. Watching us interact, they would always overtly or subtly try to push us together. In private, my mother asked me if I could only accept Ethan, would I like to formalize it with an engagement first? I didn't feel much either way, but under her caring gaze I nodded. I didn't want her or my father worrying about such trivial things for my sake. After Ethan's mother once remarked that we were a perfect match, my mother promised a verbal engagement. And with just that, a mere verbal promise, the Whitaker family's status surged, vaulting them into the core circle of elite families in the capital. Ethan's parents were ecstatic and urged him to seek me out every day to keep me happy, terrified I might change my mind. But as Ethan grew older, his heart changed too. The boy who used to sit with me patiently over books, smiling as he coaxed me to laugh, let that warmth fade into irritation and disdain. He grew more and more hostile. People at school called us childhood sweethearts until Emily appeared. The first time I met her, she was sitting in my seat, rummaging through my things. Ethan, your deskmate is really a girl. Why are all her things so ugly? What a bizarre taste. Ethan leaned against the desk, posture lazy, but there was amusement in his eyes when he looked at Emily. She's nothing like you. The stuff you like is all pink and childish. I am not childish, Emily pouted, gesturing animatedly as she started to say more, then knocked my cup to the floor. It shattered into pieces. The moment he noticed me standing there, Ethan smoothed the smile from his face. Emily just transferred, he said. She doesn't know any better. Don't hold it against her. I looked only at Emily and spoke evenly. The cup costs $8,000. Pay me back within 3 days. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. What kind of crappy cup costs $8,000? Do you think you're some rich AIS? Around us, someone whispered. She is a rich Aries. Her family donated the new middle school dorms and the high school computer lab. Emily's whole body gave a little shiver and her face flushed bright red. I didn't do it on purpose. Why should I pay? She tugged on Ethan's sleeve, her voice small and aggrieved. Ethan, your deskmate is way too snobbish. Ethan cut in with his voice cool. Ava, she didn't do it on purpose. An $8,000 isn't a big deal for you. Don't make a fuss. We're all students here. Don't be so aggressive, I said. Then you can pay it for her. Transfer it to me today. Ethan's face went stone cold. It's just $8,000. Do you really have to go that far? I do, I nodded. Money doesn't blow in on the wind at my house. With everyone watching, Ethan couldn't save face. He pulled out his phone, transferred the money, then started packing his books. Emily, didn't you say you wanted me to tutor you? From now on, I'm sitting with you. He aimed the words at Emily, but his eyes were on me, as if waiting for me to plead with him to stay. I simply slid my things aside to make space and gestured for him to move. He hesitated, then, even angrier, slammed his books onto the seat beside Emily. Back then, I was already thinking about how to convince my parents. I may be strange, but having their love is enough. Whether I have friends or not doesn't matter. The principal happened to be heading out and saw us standing by the office door. Mr. Morgan, he said to Ethan, are you here to process withdrawal paperwork too? Ethan looked at me confused. Where are you going? A competition? I answered softly. A trace of restraint flickered in the principal's eyes. Then, as if he understood, he told us to study hard and left. When we got back to class, the homeroom teacher started announcing the midterm progress scholarship list. It's designed specifically for late bloomers, 1 student per class, every term. While the teacher was still going over attendance and analysis, I heard Emily whisper her thanks to Ethan. Thanks for tutoring me. When I get the scholarship, dinner's on me. Ethan curled his lips. No big deal. But in the next period, when the actual winners were read out, the name belonged to another girl. Emily blurted out, losing control. How could it be Sophia? The The homeroom teacher frowned. See me after class. Don't disrupt the lesson. As soon as the bell rang, Emily chased the teacher down the hall. I don't know what she said, but she came back and collapsed over her desk, crying. So being rich makes you special, huh? Hearing that, everyone crowded around asking what the teacher had said. Emily, however, walked straight up to me, her face a mix of grievance and defiance. Ava, she said, I know this scholarship was set up by your family, but you shouldn't use it to settle personal scores. Just because I'm close to Ethan, you got jealous and switched the slot to someone else. How could you be so cruel? The room went silent and the looks people gave me changed. I lifted my head from my book. Did the homeroom teacher tell you that personally? Emily's eyes wavered. Am I wrong? Everyone knows that ever since I showed up, Ethan can't be bothered with you. I even heard you're engaged. You can't stand me. So of course you'd target me. You don't need the money, and you don't understand what it's like for someone poor like me. I really do need those few thousand. Please, I'll give Ethan back to you. Just give me the scholarship slot, okay? Ethan walked in from the hallway and saw Emily crying in front of me, tears like pear blossoms in the rain. His expression darkened. Ava, if you've got a problem, take it out on me. Don't bully a girl. A girl? Disgust pricked at me. First, the girl you're talking about is repeating the year after failing the college entrance exam. She's older than all of us. Second, I shifted my gaze to Emily and took out my phone, which had been recording everything you just said. I have the right to call the police and report you for defamation. Emily froze, her face draining of color, and she shrank behind Ethan. Forget it. I can't beat you, Emily said. Just give the spot to Sophia. I'll swallow the grievance. Better to see the true face of society early anyway. A flicker of pity crossed Ethan's eyes. Ava, Emily improved by 100 places compared to the mock exam. Don't drag other people into our fight. Emily and I are living, breathing people, not props for your temper. I was about to speak when a quiet, introverted girl in the corner suddenly stood up. Her eyes were red, and she was trembling with nerves over what she was about to do. She walked over, fixed her gaze on Emily, and spoke one word at a time, her voice shaking but firm. Ava didn't abuse her influence. This scholarship is mine by right. My parents are both gone. My grandmother is paralyzed. We live on a meager stipend. After Ava learned about it, she had the Ford Group establish this scholarship. Even though it was started because of me, I'm terrible in some subjects and honestly not very bright. For 2 years, I never once received it until now. This time, I improved by 109 points and moved up 305 places. I keep my feet on the ground, live carefully, and study diligently. I believe I deserve this award. Nearly 100 students benefit from this scholarship every year. Ava shouldn't be smeared like this. By the time she finished, Sophia's face was flushed and tears were falling on their own. The room went silent. Then a low murmur spread. Ava may be aloof, but she's never looked down on anyone or bullied the weak. Yeah, and it's 6,000 per person 4 times a year across hundreds of classes. Her family's spending a lot. That's pretty generous. Sophia usually keeps to herself and never competes. With this much improvement, she really does deserve it. The tide of opinion shifted towards Sophia and me. Emily's face went from white to red and back again. Finally, she couldn't take it and ran out crying. Ethan looked at me, his expression complicated. Even if you didn't pull strings, did you have to embarrass Emily? We're classmates. For once, something actually stirred in me. Ethan, I've really been doing you a favor. I had never spoken harshly to him. First, there was no need. Second, as my only friend, as long as he didn't cross the line too far, I was willing to keep him around to placate my parents. This was the first time I'd spoken to him like that. Ethan froze as if stunned by humiliation. Color rushed to his face. He ground out, "You're unbelievable," then turned and walked out of the classroom. Emily didn't come back for the last 2 periods, and Ethan for once skipped class as well. Because of the time difference with my mother's location, the annulment still hadn't reached the Morgans. That night, after washing up and reading a foreign journal, I was about to sleep when a text from an unknown number popped onto my screen. A photo of several open condoms flashed into view along with a message. "You stole my scholarship, so I'll just steal your man. Idiot. Did you really believe we were using these for an experiment?" Ex-addicts did something like this, but seeing it still churned my stomach. I didn't reply. I screenshotted the photo and message and sent them to the butler to be forwarded to the Morgan family together with the annulment statement. The next day when Emily saw me, she looked triumphant. So what if you're a princess? You're still my loser. After we graduate, I'm going to be with Ethan. All the Morgan money will be mine. Your little scholarship is nothing. She smiled sweetly. Perfect. May you two just drop dead. I offered a sincere congratulations, though I did wonder whether the Morgan family would still have any money left to take care of her when the time came. Emily took it as provocation. A flash of bring it on crossed her eyes. That afternoon between classes, I had just stepped out of a teacher's office when Ethan came over with a stormy expression. Ava, I never thought you could be this vicious. You actually had someone post those kinds of photos of Emily on the school site. He lifted his phone. An anonymous account on the campus forum had uploaded several pictures. The girl in them was almost naked, her face crudely pixelated. Easy enough for anyone who knew her to recognize. Ethan reached for me, trying to drag me along. Emily's been crying nonstop. Come apologize to her and get on the forum and admit the girl in the photos is you. If before I'd only thought he was stupid, now a heavier disgust set in. I shook him off. You really think I'm that kind of person? Ethan avoided my eyes. But Emily's only ever had conflicts with you. The admins haven't taken the photos down yet. Go tell everyone the girl is you. Your family's rich. No one will dare spread rumors about you. Emily's different. If people find out it's her, she won't be able to live it down. He glanced at me and added, feigning humility with a hint of grievance and charity, as if making some grand sacrifice. Help her this once and I'll move back to sit with you. I was about to answer when someone burst from the corner. Ava, why won't you let me go? Emily's face was streaked with tears and hatred. She raised her arm to hit me, and Ethan stepped in not to block her, but to keep me from dodging. He'd forgotten that after the kidnapping I learned Muay Thai, Sanda, and Karate. The moment they moved, my body reacted on its own. Block counter. Before Ethan could process it, I threw him over my shoulder onto the floor, and 2 clean handprints bloomed across Emily's tear-damp cheeks. Ethan had never been handled like that. He folded on the ground, a mask of pain twisting his face. I looked at the two of them coolly and dialed. Hello, I'd like to report a crime. On Clearview High School's campus network, someone is distributing pornographic images and slandering me. Both Ethan and Emily froze. Emily especially, the color draining and returning to her face in waves. Ava, you actually called the police? I brushed at imaginary dust on my sleeve. She distributed explicit photos and he smeared me as the poster. Why wouldn't I call? Emily's expression snapped. She shook all over. Even Ethan sensed something was wrong. Emily, didn't you say those photos were AI generated? She didn't hear him. She lunged for my phone like a madwoman. You can't call the police. Ava, call them back and say you were lying. Then she grabbed for Ethan. We can't involve the police. Real or fake, once they come, everyone will know. Please. Before Ethan could answer, the police arrived. The investigation was straightforward. The result was unmistakable. The photos had been posted by a thug Emily had been seeing off campus. After she met Ethan, she decided he wasn't good enough and dumped him. Out of spite, he uploaded the pictures. When Ethan learned the truth, the look he gave Emily was the way one looks at trash. So the photos were real after all. In the office, Emily's father, called in by the teachers, slapped her twice without a word, curses spilling from his mouth. Emily covered her face, tears sliding down with a numb, empty look. Ethan and I returned to the classroom. His expression was complicated, like he wanted to say something to me. I put on my headphones and switched to Do Not Disturb, and I kept it that way until the final bell. The butler texted to say my mother had already released the annulment statement. I had just gotten into the car when Ethan rushed out of the school and blocked me. His face, usually proud and swaggering, was suddenly panicked and pale. Ava, I just heard a rumor. People are saying you broke off our engagement. Hurry up and get someone to shut it down. I sat straight in the car and cut him off. It's not a rumor. Ethan froze, not processing it. What do you mean? I raised the window. The chauffeur holding the door for me gave Ethan a courteous, unyielding smile. Mr. Morgan, please step aside. The car merged into the main road. Ethan jogged a few steps after us, then stopped, his expression blank. When I got home, the staff served dinner in order, and the butler briefed me on today's matters and tomorrow's plans. 3 years ago, because of business realignments, my mother began living abroad, and my father moved back to Hong Kong. This huge house has been just me, the butler, and the household staff. The chairman was furious after announcing the annulment, the butler said. He wanted to fly back immediately, but I told him you'll see him in 2 days, so he calmed down. Sir has already cut off all cooperation with the Morgan family. He wants you to settle in Hong Kong permanently, and he plans to introduce suitable young men. The Morgans have been trying to contact you and the chairman since receiving the statement, but we've blocked all attempts. I nodded. While I'm away these next few years, you and the others will go to my grandmother's. Their household manager will make arrangements for you. They answered, please. After dinner, when the timing was right, I made the call. Do it. On my signal, all the Morgan shares we'd been accumulating for weeks were dumped at once. Their stock price plunged in an instant. This was why, even though I'd wanted to kick Ethan out of my life long ago, I waited until now. We could have parted peacefully. He insisted on destroying himself. He dirtied his own hands. I merely obliged him. That night, families and companies close to both my parents severed ties with the Morgans and halted cooperation. Fundraising projects were suspended. Investors pulled out. Teams walked away. In one night, the Morgans were back to square one. At dawn the next day, the moment I stepped out of the villa, I saw Ethan standing outside alone. A cutting wind blew in only his school uniform. He looked especially thin. A bruise marked his forehead and the corner of his mouth. Shadows pulled under his eyes. His hair was slightly neatened as if he hadn't slept and only tried to pull himself together at the last second. When he saw me, he shut his eyes briefly, a mix of confusion, fatigue, and anger flickering there. Why is this? Because of Emily. He lifted his phone and right in front of me deleted her contact. There, I deleted her. I'll never deal with someone like that again. Are you satisfied now? From now on, I'll stay by your side forever. Use me as a tool if you want. Feed your need for control if you want. Does that satisfy you? His words came slowly, but the tone dripped with disgust and mockery. Even now, he still didn't see the truth. It was never me begging him. It was his family begging for my family's favor. The chauffeur pulled up. Ethan yanked the door open to get in, but the driver hurried out, guided him back and seated me instead. Ethan stood there, baffled and indignant. Ava, what's wrong with your driver? I looked at him coolly. You're 18. I hope you understand what the word annulment means. What? Are you serious? He frowned. By then, the car had already rolled out of the gated community. No one bothered to answer his rhetorical question. It was my last day at school. After finishing the withdrawal paperwork, I said goodbye to the principal on my mother's behalf, gave parting gifts to my teachers and classmates, and on top of the existing scholarship, added a new need-based grant for low-income students. I was born detached. My moods don't swing much. I don't get close to people easily, and I don't know how to express feelings. I figured throwing money at it might be the most honest way to say what I couldn't. Hardly anyone was close to me, but that day the cards they scribbled and the small hurried gifts they put together filled my desk cubby. On my way out past the offices, I heard the dean tell my homeroom teacher that Emily had withdrawn from school. Ethan, who'd been out of it all day, seemed to finally snap back, certain now that the annulment wasn't some tantrum and that I was really leaving. He caught my wrist, fingers trembling, panic flickering in his eyes. Ava, didn't we agree to go to the same university? Why are you leaving? I eased his hand off. We won't be going to college together. Why? He asked. I looked at him calmly. Isn't this the freedom you wanted? I'd watched his attitude toward me shift and I understood why. To be blunt, he couldn't accept a future, once we were adults, that held only me. As he moved up through middle and high school, his looks drew more and more attention. Confessions piled up. Compared with his admirers, I wasn't the prettiest and I didn't have the best personality. I was just rich. In his narrow view, his family was wealthy too. He didn't need my money. Resentment festered. The more he learned about the glittering world outside, and the more people were drawn to him for his face and his family, the more he chafed at being beneath me. If he could shake me off, if he didn't have to obey his parents and curry favor with me, how free he would feel. I like to think I'm a decent person. I found him tainted and he craved freedom, so I gave him freedom. Ethan's face went bloodless. He stood there without moving, and only when the car was far down the road did his silhouette finally stir. I was going abroad for a long time, years most likely. The condo I lived in had always been just mine, so I planned to sell it. While the staff packed emergency clothes and essentials, the butler told me Ethan and his parents were at the gate and wanted to see me. When I went down, Ethan was on his knees, forced there by his father, head lowered, looking like he'd been dragged out against his will. Mrs. Morgan edged toward me carefully. "Ava, Auntie knows everything now. This boy lost his head and almost did something unforgivable. We brought him to kneel and apologize to you for an annulment." "That's unnecessary," I said. "Exactly, Ava," Mr. Morgan jumped in. "I've already taught Ethan a lesson. He knows he was wrong. He'll never defy you again." He shoved Ethan forward. "Well, apologize properly to Ava. If she doesn't forgive you, you'll kneel here till you die." His tone sounded righteous, as if he were speaking for me, but it was moral blackmail all the same. I looked down at Ethan. He seemed not to have slept a wink. Everything about him was a mess. He spoke with effort. "Ava, I was wrong. All our partnerships and projects have stopped. We're facing huge penalty fees. My parents' friends and mine won't speak to us. We owe a lot of money. We're about to lose our home. I finally understand our good life was because we latched on to you. Ava, I'm admitting my fault. There's nothing between me and Emily, and there won't be another Emily. Believe me. But didn't you want freedom?" I asked softly. He answered in a hoarse voice. "You weren't unfree because of me." He was about to say more when someone burst out of the shrubs beside us. It was Emily, who'd already withdrawn from school. Clutching a sheet of paper, she flung herself at Ethan, agitated. "Ethan, I'm pregnant with your child. You have to take responsibility." Mrs. Morgan reacted first, yanking Emily back, shock written all over her face. "What did you say? You're carrying my son's child." Realizing who she was, Emily's expression turned coy and smug. "Auntie, it's absolutely true." But instead of sympathy, she got a scowl. Mrs. Morgan shoved her away and hurried to explain to me. "Ava, she's lying. There's no way it's my son's. My boy is decent and clean. Everyone knows she's loose, always fooling around with men. It can't be his." Mr. Morgan echoed her. Ethan was only 18. In the face of this, he panicked. "Ava, I never touched her. You have to believe me. No one welcomed her. She even lowered herself to beg me." Emily froze, then exploded. "Are you all idiots? You really think Ava doesn't know?" She jabbed a finger at her phone. "The 3 condoms we used, I already sent the pics to Ava." Mr. and Mrs. Morgan nearly exploded, dragging Emily toward a hospital for a test. Ethan, flustered, reached for me to beg for forgiveness, and the whole scene spun into chaos. I told the butler to clear them all out. Silence finally returned. The next time I saw Ethan was just before I boarded my flight overseas. He'd rushed to the airport, gray-faced and sobbing uncontrollably. "Ava, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Don't go. Please. You were the one who first asked me to be your friend. How can you just throw me away? I've never liked anyone else. You're just so distant, always so rational and calm, and so cold to me. I couldn't feel what you felt. I stuck close to Emily only to see if you cared, if you'd get jealous. I was wrong. Please forgive me." I looked straight at him. Did I suddenly become this cold? I've been like this since I was a child. I was like this when you met me. I treat my parents only slightly better than I treat you. So what exactly are you dissatisfied with? If you don't have the ability to have it all, you don't get to demand both. I don't know if he heard a word. He just kept crying, begging for my forgiveness, calling himself an idiot. I gave him one last long look, then turned and boarded the plane. My mother picked me up in person. After I settled in, I split my time between studying and gradually taking on work at her company. Then, in my sophomore year, I headed back to her place one night because of a last-minute document, something I hadn't planned to do, and walked in on her and a blonde, muscular man kissing on the living room sofa. 10 minutes later, he'd gotten dressed and left. My mother opened her mouth to explain, But before she could speak, I cut in. Mom, I know Dad had an affair when I was 2. You two were already just keeping up appearances, hiding it so I'd have a complete family. I was kidnapped because of the mess Dad made with his flings. Because I was hurt, you filed for divorce that year. Dad's living in Hong Kong isn't because he's busy with work. It was only because you two divorced. I know everything. I sat beside my mother and took her hand. I know my emotional shortcomings worry you. That's why you once had Ethan keep me company to love me in your place when you couldn't be there. But Mom, I'm not that fragile. I already have so much love and money from you and Dad. Other people's vague, uncertain affection is optional to me. Besides, I'm your daughter. Even if I did have a mental illness, who would dare laugh? You have real power. As your child, I can only climb higher. Compared with a man's love, power, money, and status are the best medicine for my heart. My mother looked straight at me and began to cry. She'd always feared she hadn't loved me enough, but to me it was more than enough. I'm deeply grateful to my parents. They gave me a starting line that most can't reach. From that starting line I worked even harder, constantly creating more wealth, more reputation. 6 years later, I flew back home for meetings and ran into some high school classmates holding a reunion at one of our group's hotels. The once awkward faces had grown polished and mature. A girl stepped into the lobby to make a call, and happened to meet me as I walked in with executives and security. She approached carefully to greet me and thanked me. She said the need-based grant I added after I left had given her a chance to attend college and become who she was now, and that the fund was still helping many students. I smiled at her as we chatted. A commotion rose at the hotel entrance. The doorman was blocking a delivery courier whose wet clothes were soaking the carpet. In the scuffle, the courier slipped and fell, and a familiar face looked up. It was Ethan. The girl recognized him too and whispered to me. After his family's collapse, he bombed the college entrance exams and only made it into a private university. But the tuition was too high, so he switched to a vocational college. While he was there, his father was paralyzed. His mother took a janitor's job at a mall. After Ethan graduated, he found a company job but was fired for poor performance. He went to work on the assembly line. The factory did badly and shut down. Later, he bought a used Wuling minivan to drive for rideshare. Ironically, once he picked up Emily, by then she was with a rich patron, and she had people smash Ethan's car on purpose. Back when she was taken for an abortion, Ethan's family had run off without even paying her medical fees. Busting his car had been payback. Now, he was delivering food, probably because he had nothing else left to do. I listened without a ripple, watched the doorman direct the courier to another entrance, then excused myself politely and went to the conference hall. A week later, after I'd wrapped up domestic business, I was at the airport again to fly out. While I was reviewing documents at the gate, a local news alert popped up. Woman's biological father 18 times arrested. I tapped it accidentally and saw that the woman in the photo was Emily. The report said her father had secretly drained all her savings, and in a rage, she grabbed a kitchen knife and hacked at him until he stopped moving. Only then did she realize she'd killed him. I stared for 2 seconds, closed the page and went back to my project files. Playing savior only breeds needless trouble when you see too much of it. All I need is to keep my eyes on the future and never stop. Years passed. The name Ava Ford had long become synonymous with precision, brilliance, and quiet power. By 30, I'd already stepped fully into my mother's position, running the Ford Group's global operations. The financial magazines called me the Diamond Heir, though I preferred to think of myself simply as someone who refused to stop moving forward. Sometimes at night, I'd stand by the window of my office, overlooking the harbor lights, the reflection of my face calm and distant in the glass. People said I was born cold. Maybe that was true, but to me it was just the price of clarity. I had learned again and again that affection fades, loyalty bends, and desire corrodes. Only strength endures. One evening after a shareholders' dinner, as I left the hotel, I noticed a delivery scooter parked in the rain. The rider sat under the dim streetlight, soaked, head bent over his phone. For a second I thought I recognized the slant of his shoulders, Ethan. But I didn't stop. The light turned green and my car pulled away. Some things are better left in the past, frozen in the moment where they ended. On the plane that night, my partner handed me a new investment report. We've been invited to fund a startup in behavioral neuroscience. She said, they're researching emotional reconstruction, how to repair damaged empathy circuits. I smiled faintly. Interesting. Let's back it. She nodded, not understanding that it wasn't the project that mattered. It was the irony. Life always offered its little jokes. If emotion could be rebuilt, maybe someday someone would learn to rebuild mine. But until then, I had no need for ghosts from the past. As the city lights disappeared beneath the clouds, I closed my eyes and let the Engine's hum swallow the silence. There was peace in it, a kind of quiet that didn't feel empty, just complete. After all, not everyone needs love to feel alive.